Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but Mint's premium wireless is $15 a month. But I'd like to offer one other perk. We have no stores. That means no small talk. Crazy weather we're having. No, it's not. It's just weather. It is an introvert's dream. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
You know what's wild? Most people are still overpaying for car insurance just because it's a pain to switch. That's why there's Jerry. Jerry's the only app that compares rates from over 50 insurers in minutes and helps you switch fast with no spam calls or hidden fees. Drivers who save with Jerry could save over $1,300 a year. Before you renew your car insurance policy, do yourself a favor. Download the Jerry app or head to jerry.ai/ACAST.
So imagine this. You're standing on the beach when you notice something strange. The horizon just doesn't look right. At first, all you can see is a thin, white line. But the line starts to rise up, and you realize it's not the horizon at all. It's actually a 30-foot tall wall of water, and it's racing straight towards you. What would you do? On the day after Christmas in 2004, a 9.1 magnitude earthquake hit off the coast of Indonesia, triggering a devastating tsunami. It struck Thailand without any warning. No alarms, no cell phone alerts, no evacuation. In this season of Against the Odds, experience one of the deadliest natural disasters in history through the perspectives of those who did everything they could to survive. Follow Against the Odds on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. And you can binge all episodes of Against the Odds Tsunami in Thailand early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
Super real. And I just kept walking, and Mill Road ended, and then it turned into a trail, and then the trail turned into a track, and I found myself just on dusk in this forest. Then it started raining. And then it started really raining. And I was sitting there thinking, I feel safe. I don't feel ashamed. There's no one to kick me in the guts and move me on. There's no one to judge me. I just feel okay. So I decided I was going to stay there for as long as I felt okay.
Hey, I'm Julian Morgans, and you're listening to What It Was Like, the show that asks people who have lived through big, dramatic events what it was like. So there's this road that I take every day to drop my daughter at daycare. It's the Nepean Highway in Melbourne, and maybe you know it. If you do, you'll probably agree that it's one of the most depressing stretches of urban landscape anywhere in the universe. It's just traffic, billboards, car yards, everything's grey. There's no trees. And driving it every time, I get hit by this wave of like suburban existentialism. It's just like, why do I live here? Why have I chosen this? Did I even choose this, or did I just kind of end up here? And to be clear, I love my life. You know, I have a great life. But there's a lot about modernity that just doesn't work for me. And especially when I'm stuck in traffic on the goddamn Nepean Highway. And in those moments, I just want to live in a forest. And obviously, I'm not the first person to feel that way. History is full of people, mostly young men, who have decided to go alone in the wilderness and grow a big beard. The obvious example that I'm thinking of is Christopher McCandless, whose story became a book, which became the 2007 film Into the Wild. Actually, just hold that thought for a moment, because just a quick plug for this week's subscriber-only episode. We're looking at a similar case as the one in Into the Wild. Another man who fled into the Alaskan wilderness in 1981 named Carl McConn. And he got a friend to drop him off in an aeroplane, but forgot to organize the same friend to pick him up. So he ended up stranded in an Alaskan winter, trying to survive in a tent, before he finally ran out of food and used his last shotgun cartridge to take his own life. It's a really sad story, but it's just been completely forgotten about. and it gives us an opportunity to just do a much deeper exploration of some of the themes that we're exploring in this episode. So that's our subscriber-only episode this week. You should check it out. But anyway, back to this current story at hand, this episode. I've always wanted to know, what's it like to give up everything and live in the wilderness? Is it peaceful, or is it just kind of lonely? And is it as spiritually rewarding as I've always hoped? So I tracked down someone who's done it. I wanted to ask these questions, so I found a guy who's done it, and his name is Gregory Smith. And in his 30s, after a pretty traumatic upbringing, Gregory walked into the rainforest near Byron Bay with just the clothes on his back, and he stayed there. And he lived on whatever he could pick or hunt, and he didn't even have a tent, and that's how he lived for about 10 years. But Gregory's story isn't just about escaping society. It's a story about confronting the pain of an abusive, violent childhood and the way that nature can help people to heal. And I got to say, it seems to have worked, because these days Gregory has a PhD. His name is actually Dr. Gregory Smith. He's also an author, a TED speaker, and a senior lecturer at Southern Cross University. And I think Gregory has a pretty rare kind of wisdom that you're going to hear today. And maybe it's the kind of wisdom you get after 10 years of quiet contemplation under a tree. So I loved this conversation, and I hope you do too. I think it speaks to a lot of the things that I've always wondered about. So here is Dr. Gregory Smith. Hey Gregory, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Julian.
So my understanding is that your story starts with your childhood, which was pretty difficult. Could you just sort of set the scene there? You know, what was happening in your childhood?
Well, I was born in Tamworth, New South Wales, in 1955, and I was born into poverty, domestic violence, and addiction or alcoholism. I say addiction because my mother was also addicted to Ford pills at the time, which, as most of us know, are just pure amphetamine. So speed on the go, diet tablets. Right from the very first day it was, well, I don't have a recollection of it, but there was violence within the household. At the age of 2, my mother and my father were having a really bad argument, a physical argument, and I got in the way. I was trying to, as a young person does, as a young child does, they try to stop it, just try to stop the argument. And I got in my father's way. He picked me up by the leg and flung me aside. And I bounced off the wall. And from that day forth, I was hearing impaired, pretty much deaf in my left ear, which, it's a legacy that constantly reminds me of domestic violence. It's something that's always just the uselessness of that type of violence.
Yeah.
So that was at 2 years old. Then my mother had 4 more children, 4 girls, and there was just constant violence between my mother and my father. Look, to be honest, one was as bad as the other when I reflect on it. It was just the nature of poverty and alcoholism and addiction. At the age of 10, my mother gave me away to an orphanage, and that created a whole lot of other types of trauma within me. Abandonment, resentment, anger. One of the standing philosophies of the time was children should be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
So, and it wasn't custom to have conversations with children and tell children what was going on, what was happening, what their part in life was, or things like that. So, we just woke up one morning. Mum said we're going for a drive. It was about 69 miles from Tamworth to Armidale. She said we were going to visit Auntie Muriel. When we got to our destination, there was this massive Gothic building that looked like a church. And when the nuns came out to usher us in, I kind of knew I was in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
And I do recall being really angry with the nuns and telling them, and this is after hearing, the exchanges between my mother and my father in heated debate, telling them exactly where I think they should go and what I thought of them.
Good. Well, good on you.
Yeah, well, that didn't go down too well. So my first day there I spent locked up in a room in solitary confinement.
Oh, jeez.
Which kind of set the scene for the rest of my stay in the orphanages and in the punitive system as I sort of matured.
Okay, so this sounds, it sounds chaotic. I guess particularly the part living with your parents, but it sounds like a pretty unpleasant childhood. What effect did this have on you? What sort of a kid did you become?
I was very angry. I was a very angry child. And I was intolerant. I was intolerant of other people. I didn't trust people. I didn't believe what people said, especially after my mother said we were going to visit an auntie and I ended up in an orphanage. That was it. Sometimes when I talk, I say life lesson number 1, don't trust anyone, even your parents. And that was the way it was for me. I just wanted to be by myself. One of the things being locked in isolation at that age is I learnt to use my mind as an escape mechanism. I could withdraw into my mind and I could sit in a dark space for hours and hours and days and occupy myself.
Yeah.
So I was quite okay being alone, which is not a healthy thing for a young person to do. But that set another theme for the rest of my life as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And who did you become as you graduated from childhood into adolescence and into young adulthood?
Well, after I left the institutions, actually they gave me 3 things. As I was walking out the gate, they gave me 3 things. Well, one was a set of second-hand clothes, which were ill-fitting, and I felt very embarrassed in. The other was a piece of advice: don't come back.
Not tempting.
And I took that on board. And the third was $2.25.
Oh.
As I was walking out of that place, I was very angry. I was very afraid. I had not been a part of society. I had not been socialised into community. But on that day, I found myself in a pub and I bought a beer. And that's the first time I drank alcohol in my life.
How old were you?
I drank that beer. It was a week before my 19th birthday.
Okay.
But on that day, I found myself in a pub drinking a beer, and the strangest thing happened to me. And that was, as I drank that beer, I just suddenly felt okay. It was like the alcohol helped all that fear, all that anger to just dissipate for a short while.
That's a dangerous realization.
Absolutely dynamite.
Yeah.
Totally dynamite. Because from that moment on, I chased that feeling.
Yeah.
I was looking for that escape. I wanted to feel that good. And during that process, I found a whole lot of different jobs to support myself, usually seasonal work, farm work, cleaning jobs. During that time, I met a beautiful young woman. I don't know what she saw in me, but I know she felt my anger because we were married, and a very short while after we were married, she left. And I think that was the wisest thing that she ever did in her life. I'd become my father.
Okay.
I'd become my father through alcohol, through the abuse, the violence. I was a horrible person.
It just makes me wonder if he'd become his father too.
He had, yes. Later in my life, I did a lot of work researching and finding out who I was. I needed to understand who my father was, who my mother was, who their parents were and who their parents were, and so forth and so on.
Yeah.
And that trauma had been in our lives, in our family lives, for several generations. And it was amplified by both wars, both world wars.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did this period of aggressive turmoil end?
I made a decision. I was hitchhiking out on the road. I'd been hitchhiking for probably several months up and down the East Coast. But by the time I was 35, I realised that I just couldn't live in society. Mm-hmm. I was better off not being a part of it, because sooner or later I was going to hurt somebody really bad, and I don't think I could have lived with that. One day I was in Byron Bay and I saw a sign that said Mullumbimby that way. I thought, I'd heard lots of stories about Mullumbimby and the medication scene at Mullumbimby. So I thought I might go across and try their medication.
Okay. And I'm guessing this was about 1990, and marijuana was illegal in Australia. So going to Mullumbimby or going to Nimbin for some weed would have been a tempting idea. Yeah.
Well, I know in Byron Bay at the time, even if you were found with a seed, that was a jail term.
Yeah.
So I went across to Mullumbimby, and that was pretty cool for the first 2 days, but then I got sort of claustrophobic. I started walking out of Mullumbimby, and I'm just wondering, what am I going to do? I got to a point at the top up on Mount Gooningary, and there was a sign, Pacific Highway 13, Mill Road. And I thought, well, I know exactly what's on the Pacific Highway. I've been walking up and down there for 20 years. I might give Mill Road a go. And I just kept walking, and Mill Road ended, and then it turned into a trail, and then the trail turned into a track, and I found myself just on dusk in this forest.
Yeah.
And then it started raining. And then it started really raining. And then the rain got heavier. And I'm thinking, this is a rainforest. I pulled this dry as a bone up over my head, sort of sheltered myself, and I'm sitting there for hours while it rained. And then my legs started to get itchy, and my face started to get itchy. And, there's mosquitoes everywhere. I'm thinking, I'm just sitting here feeding the mosquitoes. I put my hand down to scratch my leg, and brought my hand back up, and there's blood all over my hand. I looked down, and my legs are covered in leeches.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this is just crazy. Anyway, I stayed there the night. I must have been anemic by the next morning, but I got through the night, and it was a beautiful morning the next morning. It was just an absolutely amazing morning. And the symphony, the sounds of the birds, and it was just an amazing experience. And I thought, wow, what a beautiful place. So I decided to stay for a while. And, that day I sort of did a recon. I had a look around. I knew I needed to find somewhere a little bit less wet. And I'm not talking about rain, just the sogginess of the ground. So I needed to find somewhere with a bit firmer ground to sleep on, because I'd already decided I was going to spend a couple of days up there at least. So I did. I found a spot. It was lava rock, and I could drag a few branches in and make a little bit of a floor to lift me up off the rock, get me off the water when it rained. And then I went out and I explored. I explored the forest. And that night, I lit a little fire, and I was sitting there thinking, I feel safe. I don't feel ashamed. There's no one to kick me in the guts and move me on. There's no one to judge me. I just feel okay. So I decided I was going to stay there for as long as I felt okay. And after a couple of weeks, I learnt some new skills in there as well, like how do you light a fire while it's pouring rain, like in a thunderstorm.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
Anyone can do it. There's always dry bark under the wet bark. So it's just peeling off that wet bark, getting to the dry bark. Yeah. So I learned a whole lot of new skills there. My first meals up there were well, they call them large skinks. So I was catching skink.
Like a lizard, just like a
Yeah.
big lizard that lives in the bush.
Yeah, yeah, and they're slow moving. They don't move very fast, and they taste a bit like mud, but they're nutritious. So
Do you cook them over a fire?
yes, yeah. I sort of sliced a piece off and sort of roasted that over the fire on a stick and ate that. I would eat whatever I could catch. I learnt to build snares. I learnt to track. Yeah, quite a few skills. The problem became, because every night just on dusk or at sun up, dawn, I'd sit there and I'd watch all the animals moving around, and I took great pleasure in watching their routines, and they became familiar. But then over time I started to realise that I was actually eating them. And, as each meal passed, there were less animals to interact with.
That's a bit sad.
It made me very sad.
Yeah.
So I became vegetarian.
Okay. I mean, that seems like a bit of a perilous thing to take on when you're subsisting on not much food.
It was quite a significant turning point in my life. But by then, by that time, I'd started trading with the hippies and the fringe dwellers around the forest as well.
Okay, so you weren't entirely cut off from civilization at this point.
No, not entirely. No, I still had sort of little encounters here and there. And I was trading them snake skin, lizard skin, little carvings that I did, different things. So I'd been trading with the local sort of fringe dwellers for a while, and I had other ways of getting cash as well.
Like what?
Okay, well, at the time, a tick to a vet was worth $1.
Hmm.
So vets were paying $1 a tick, and I had lots of ticks.
Why were they worth $1?
Because at the time they were developing serums and anti-vaccines for the paralysis tick.
Ah, of course, yeah.
Yep. And I mean, I could collect 30, 40, 50 ticks in a day.
Hmm. Without getting paralyzed.
I had me encounters with the ticks. Once I had a tick in the middle of my back, and I couldn't get it out.
Yeah.
And that caused me a lot of grief for a long time.
Oh.
But another thing that I would do, and I shouldn't say this, but I will, is in Mount Gunnegarry, it was only about a 3.5 day walk down to Byron Bay or down to the ocean. And I would catch little fish, little subtropical fish, and I would take them into the pet shop. And for some of those fish, a certain type of fish, they would give me $100 for a little fish. So there were ways of gaining money. And, I'd started brewing my own beer in there in a wet wort, which is a skill in itself, which made me very sick. I was growing my own dope. It was pretty good stuff. And I was selling that to the hippies. So, and then about 4 years in.
Whoa, hold on, 4 years in. So you must have had a pretty established little base at this time, like a little camp.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't call it. Yeah, it was established. Yeah, I hadn't built a shelter. I couldn't afford to have a shelter because up in that area, aerial reconnaissance was constant.
They were looking for people growing weed.
Exactly right, because it was a renowned, high quality produce centre for marijuana. So you get the helicopters come in quite regularly, and so I needed to be alert to that. So,
What were you sleeping on?
Well, that was one of my daily routines, was to freshen up my bed. Well, that was while I was sober or not too stoned, was to go and refresh my bed with leaves and ferns.
Okay.
So it was just a couple of, or several long branches covered in ferns and leaves. It was quite comfortable.
Okay, and this is over the top of rock, so it wasn't keeping you out of the mud.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but nothing over the top. You didn't have a roof. You were happy to lay in the rain.
Yeah, I'd sleep in the rain. I had it dry as a bone for a while, until that rotted away. And then I would, go down to St. Vinny's and grab a blanket or something.
Okay.
But I remember about 2 weeks after I was there, maybe 3, maybe a bit longer, I'm not sure now, but I was laying there one night and I felt this little sort of a tickle and a tuck on my side, and then it sort of started going across, and I thought, that's a snake.
Oh.
And I lay there and I was frozen. I was just as still as, because I didn't, and I knew it was a snake, and it was going across, and it was it was a big snake. Anyway, I waited until it had gone right across. Then I jumped up and I grabbed a stick out of the fire, and I'm looking around, and it was a massive python. It probably would have been, a good 6-7 feet long.
Wow.
And I grabbed it and I sort of wrung its head off, and I thought, breakfast. So it was before I became a vegetarian.
How was it? How's python?
Oh, look, it was very satisfying, actually, because there was a lot of meat in it. It's a sweet meat. It's a sweet white meat.
Really? Like frog or a fish?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I suppose that's a comparison. Yeah. For a while in there, my main diet consisted of fruit bat, because I found a bat colony as well. So, and I used, it took me a while to work out how to use a slingshot to knock the bats out of the tree. But yeah, so I was eating bat for quite a while up there as well, and they just taste like urine.
It sounds great.
They hang upside down, and but they were nutritious. They served a point, but until I made that decision to become vegetarian. But
so, how did you become a vegetarian in the bush?
I became a vegetarian by deciding not to eat my friends anymore. The way I coped or supplemented that was with the income that I was generating from all the little enterprises that I had. I'd go in, I'd buy dry beans, like navy beans, soy products, rice, and I'd bring a whole lot of that up. The mushrooms, lots of good mushrooms in the forest. I certainly learnt that, gold tops don't grow in the forest.
They're the hallucinogenic ones, yeah.
Yeah, every February I'd go and I'd harvest stack loads of gold tops, and I'd dry them out and preserve them for my basic needs during the year. And then there were other mushrooms like the purple meanies, which are also hallucinogenic. So I used quite a few of those as well.
Okay. So you were still in a period where escapism was important to you. You'd escaped, but you were still escaping. Yeah,
well, one thing I learnt quite profoundly, probably 6 months into that journey, was that I took myself with me. And all of the associated demons and challenges and everything else that went with that. So, as much as I sort of imagined for a short period of time that I had that freedom from all that pain, and it came back to me in spades. And that's why I started brewing the home brews in the forest and getting drunk in the forest. That was to kill the pain. Growing the pot to kill the pain. Eventually, I was eating the marijuana. I was just eating the heads off the marijuana and washing it down with beer brew. And that was my diet.
Jeez. I
became very ill. Yeah. Very, very ill. I'm like I could reach into my mouth and pull my teeth out.
Right.
And I actually did that.
Sounds like you had scurvy.
Very much so. Very much so.
Hey, we're going to take a quick ad break, but stick around because we'll be back with more What It Was Like. This episode is brought to you by Ruler, the online mental health provider. So recently I was going through a bit of a rough patch. My girlfriend was away for a couple of months. I was moving house, and it just felt like I was trying to juggle a few too many things all at once. And I kind of just wanted to talk it through with someone. I wanted a therapist, and I didn't know where to start. And that's what's so good about online therapy. That's what's so good about Ruler. They don't require a GP referral. You don't have to shop around trying to find the right person. You just go online, you answer a few quick questions, and they match you with someone who really fits what you need. So if you haven't done therapy before, Ruler makes that first step just so easy. They've got more than 15,000 licensed therapists. They're all vetted, and so it's not on you to go and find someone. And you know what? Therapy works. It just does. So if you've been thinking about starting therapy or getting back into it, Ruler, that's R-U-L-A, it's a really simple, affordable way to do it. Thousands have already trusted Ruler to support them on their journey towards improved mental health and overall well-being. So head on over to ruler.com/whatitwaslike and get started today. And also, after you sign up, they ask you where you heard about them. So please support our show and tell them that our show sent you. Go to Ruler, that's RULA.com/whatitwaslike, and take that first step towards better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares. That's Ruler.com.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. It's our Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with a bundle of cozy, soothing comfort. Now only $17.99 for our C2 mattress and base, plus free premium delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but Mint's premium wireless is $15 a month. But I'd like to offer one other perk. We have no stores. That means no small talk. Crazy weather we're having. No, it's not. It's just weather. It is an introvert's dream. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
A lot of supplement brands chase trends, but if you're serious about your health, we know research-backed science is what actually moves the needle. Momentous works with the best brains in human science to create every formula, and every batch is made of pure ingredients, tested for safety, and does not contain fillers. So you get the best long-term results possible. Creatine isn't just for muscle gains, it's essential daily fuel for your brain, body, and long-term performance. Momentous CreaPure Creatine is backed by leading performance experts like Dr. Andrew Huberman and Dr. Stacy Sims. Sourced exclusively in Germany, CreaPure sets the gold standard for creatine, delivering the purest form, creatine monohydrate, that's rigorously washed and never cut with fillers. With over 2,000 5-star reviews, over 112,000 customers have seen the results firsthand. With Momentous, the fundamentals are done right. Right now, Momentous is offering our listeners up to 35% off your first subscription order with promo code ACAST. Go to livemomentous.com and use promo code ACAST for up to 35% off your first subscription order. That's livemomentous.com, promo code ACAST.
So when you're out there in the forest day after day, and I mean, you were there for a long time, right? You were there for a decade.
Yep.
Did those days move quickly?
Time didn't exist. I positioned a stick in the ground, and I watched that stick for years. And when I say I watched the stick, I watched the shadow of the stick. And what I learnt just from that experience was that the sun comes up in a different position every 3 months. I learnt a whole lot of things just from watching a stick and a shadow.
What was the single most beautiful thing that you ever witnessed in your 10 years in the bush?
Misty mornings, standing on the top of a cliff, overlooking the Huon Valley. It's like a gorge, and it's full of fog or mist, and you feel like you can walk out on top of it to the other side. It's an amazingly beautiful thing. Blue sky after a rainy night, the smell of the freshness of the forest, the sounds of the birds, and then you look out over this, it's a sheer cliff with a waterfall going over it. It's 250 feet, and to look out at that fog that's sitting there that looks solid, and you can feel you can walk out across it.
Wow, that does sound nice.
It's a beautiful thing.
I understand one day that someone left a note for you out in the bush as well.
Yes. Yeah. There were not a lot of trails in and out of the forest, and, I used to vary the trails, but this particular time I went out and there was a note to the wild man in the forest. I have a dwelling on my land if you would like to come and talk to me, and you can live in there. I just don't recall the exact wording, but that was the context, the main message of the note. And I wasn't really interested, to be honest. But on one of my trading expeditions sometime later, somebody asked me, "Did you get that note that was left for you?" And I said, "Yeah, I saw that." It took me ages to read it. I couldn't, because I didn't read or write. And they said to me, "You know, the only reason that he wants you to live in that place on his land is to stop people going in, because everyone's afraid of you." So I took that as a compliment.
So you were being hired as a kind of bulldog.
It's like, never thought of it that way, but yeah, I guess so, yeah. Towards the end, I was sitting by a campfire. I was really sick. I weighed about 42 kilos. I had no focus. I couldn't concentrate on anything. All I wanted to do was die. And I was walking around muttering, how long before I die? I just want to die. I had imaginations that would send a lot of people crazy, I'm sure. And then one night at the campfire, I'm sitting there, and these aliens come. They're just, they'd been sort of, I knew they were around. I knew they were around for a couple of weeks. They'd been sort of watching me. But then this particular night they came in and they sat there and they said to me, "You need to leave." So I said, "No, I don't. I'm not going to leave. I want to die here." And they say, "Well, that would contradict your, what you're saying about hurting people. You say you don't want to hurt people anymore." And I said, "Well, no, I don't. I just want to die here. That way I can't hurt anyone." They challenged me to a debate. And the rules around the debate were very clear, because I'd considered myself as, although I thought I was stupid and dumb, I thought I could debate rather well. And they challenged me to it, see, my strength. They took on my ego right there. They took me on. We'll challenge you to a debate. If you win the debate, we'll leave you. You'll never see us again, and you can die in the forest. If we win, you pack your stuff up tomorrow, and you go out and you give society another chance. I said, "You're on." The arrogance of a sick person.
Yeah.
So they started. Or actually, I started. That's right, I started. And I said, "I want to die up here because I've hurt too many people in my life, and I don't want to hurt anyone else. And I can be worm food up here and fertilise the forest, and that way at least I'm doing something good." You ever tried to play yourself chess, Julian?
I have not, but I can imagine.
You can't win. And that's what they did to me. They used my thinking against me, because what they said is, if you stay up here and die, yes, that'll be the end of your pain. But you'll also create pain for your daughter and the rest of your family, because they will never have closure on your life. You can just as easily walk into the society, die in the gutter, your body will be found, your family will have closure. It'll be the same outcome. I couldn't argue with that.
Yeah.
So I was forced the next day to pack up my few possessions, clean up the space, and leave the forest. Now, it was about a day and a half it took me to get back onto the roads. But when I got onto the road, I was hit by a car. And according to witnesses, the car stopped and then reversed over me.
What? Why?
I have no idea. But what it did do is it put me in hospital.
Right.
because the ambulance was called. They picked me up, took me to hospital. And that's probably where I needed to be at that time. So, when I reflect on that, that was a good thing that happened. And what happened at that time was the social workers and the hospital staff, the nurses, the doctors, were able to stabilise my condition. Like I said, I was 42 kilos. I was psychotic, really in a bad psychological space, really bad physical space. I didn't know who I was. The social workers were able to establish my identity, and I was expected to die within 12 months. They didn't give me much hope for living. And I ended up on a disability support pension, which gave me an income. And not only that, they back paid me about 3 months.
Wow.
But then I moved up to Tweed Heads, Gold Coast, still homeless. Mm-hmm. I've got this free money coming in. And, of course, what does an alcoholic drug addict do with a whole lot of money? Goes and buys a whole lot of booze and drugs and fills a backpack up with the booze and drugs. No. One day I'm sitting on a park bench at the back of the Tweed Heads Hospital. It's a really nice spot. Beautiful lawns, nice view onto the Tweed River. I'm sitting there and I've got, my backpack. In the backpack I had a cask of fruit elixir, bottle of bourbon, a couple of cans of beer, a couple of packets of drum tobacco with telly hose, a satchel of cocaine, some speed just in case I needed it.
This is quite the Hunter S. Thompson medicine kit.
Everything a drug addict wants. I was in my glory.
Yeah.
Just starting to feel a little bit better, putting some weight on, had some sensible thinking going on. I'm thinking, And I'm sitting there on that park bench and I'm thinking, wow, this is great. If only I had one person that I could talk to tell all my problems to, I might be all right. That was not a good thought for the loneliest man in the world.
Why not?
Because all of a sudden I realised I was sitting there, I was 45 years old, everything I owned was in that backpack. That was the sum of my life in that backpack. I did not have one friend in the world. I was 45 years old, I did not have one friend in the world. And all of a sudden, I felt, I had this memory. When I was a kid, I had this raging fire in my gut, this ambition of life, the passion to go out and do something. And I sat there on that park bench that day, and all that was left of that passion, of that raging fire, was a tiny little ember. And again, I just wanted to reach in and put it out. And when I thought of that, I want to reach in and put it out, suddenly I was standing there and I could not see past my nose. There was this fog and I could not see past my nose. And I was tired and I was angry. And very slowly this fog started to recede. And as the fog receded, I could see my arms. And I suddenly knew that I had to fight. I had to fight. There was another fight coming. Then the fog receded further and I could see in my hands I held this great big double-edged sword. And I was ready to wield it. I was ready to strike out at whatever foe, whatever demon was coming at me. I was ready. Then the fog receded further and I could see around me all this devastation and all this destruction. There was just chaos and calamity, but I couldn't see anyone. And the fog receded all the way to the horizon and there was no one there. It was just an eerie silence. And I'm looking out over this, and then all of a sudden it struck me with a massive blow. It struck me. There was never, ever anyone else there that I was fighting. I had created all this destruction fighting myself. Oof. My whole life I'd been fighting myself. And I dropped to my knees and I said, I don't want to fight anymore. And I tried to throw that sword away and I couldn't. It was like it was a part of me and I couldn't get rid of that sword.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I was sitting back on the park bench. And I was sitting there. And the sun was warm on me. And I thought, I will do whatever I need to do not to be this person sitting here on this bench today. And I looked at that backpack and I got up and I walked away. I had nothing except the clothes I was wearing and the money in my pocket. I've never had a drink of alcohol, I've never had a drug, and I've never had a cigarette since that day.
Wow. That's incredible.
I was still homeless and I was still feeding the mosquitoes in the swamp, sleeping in the swamp down the mangroves. I was eating out of the soup kitchens, but my vision, my focus was different. I was determined not to be that person anymore. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know what I had to do. I just knew that I had to do it. I didn't realise it at the time, but the most difficult journey that I would ever undertake was in front of me. But at the same time, it would be the most amazing journey.
Hey, we're going to take a quick ad break, but stick around because we'll be back with more What It Was Like.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. It's our Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with a bundle of cozy, soothing comfort. Now only $17.99 for our C2 mattress and base, plus free premium delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
So, I found myself at the age of, I think, 48, enrolling in university, doing an undergrad with sociology. Why sociology? When I was going through all the coursework, I looked at sociology and it said the study of society. And I thought, yes, I want to do sociology because I want to understand why I hate society so much. As it turns out, I didn't hate society. I just didn't understand society.
Yeah.
Nobody ever taught me how to be a part of society. But I did that. I started doing that undergrad and I was quite good at it. I enjoyed the study. I was getting towards the end of my undergrad and I got a phone call from a person in the university, a senior lecturer in the university. And the phone call went along the lines of, "Hello, Gregory, I've been looking at your transcripts. I'd like you to come and work for me." "Oh, okay. What doing?" "Well, I'd like you to start off marking for me and then maybe doing some tutoring." I said, okay.
So this was another lecturer at the university?
Yes, it was, yes, in sociology.
Ah, okay.
Took me about 0.009 seconds to make a decision around that.
Yeah.
The money was actually quite good. It wasn't a cleaning job. I didn't have to stand outside in the sun all day picking fruit or chipping cotton or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a prestigious job.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I'm thinking, I've made it.
Yeah.
And then she said, "But there's a condition." Oh, you're right. Always a condition, isn't it?
Here we go. Yeah.
Yeah, here we go. She said, and that is that you continue your studies.
Huh.
She said, "I'd like you to go on and do an honours." I didn't even know what an honours was. I mean, I was struggling to understand what an undergrad was. But I got myself organised and decided I would do it. It took me 12 months to do my honours. And that was sent away and graded, and it came back honours first class.
Wow.
Exceptionally high grade.
Wow.
And that won me an Australian scholarship into a PhD.
Wow. And now, I mean, you're a lecturer, you're an author, you're a TEDx speaker. I mean, it feels like a fairly neat narrative at this point, where it was bad made good. But do you see it that way? Do you still see it as a journey unfolding?
It's a journey. It continues to unfold. I mean, June this year I started a not-for-profit. And that not-for-profit's to help vulnerable Australians, disadvantaged Australians. And I do a lot of work with people that have experienced domestic violence, people that have experienced drug and alcohol issues, people with homelessness. I have the lived experience, I have the knowledge and the know-how of how to stop these things from happening.
Yeah.
I want to do that.
So how can people help?
Talk to me about funding with outcomes, KPIs, real, genuine, strategic programs in place to help people avoid becoming homeless in the first place.
And we'll put your website in the show notes, of course.
Okay.
I've just got a few more questions before we finish up here. When you look back on this emotional journey that you've been through, what role did your time in the bush play?
Look, that period I spent in the bush was critical to becoming who I am today, because that's that time of self-reflection. I mean, it wasn't wasted time. You know, while I was in the bush, I asked the important questions. Who am I? Why was my father like he was? Why was my mother like she was? I'd learnt while I was in the bush to understand their traumas, to understand that although they didn't do what they did was not good enough, you know, they had their own issues as well. So
there's a bit of forgiveness there.
Absolutely. You know, I could understand, you know, and through forgiving them, I was able to forgive myself.
Yeah.
I started to understand the nature of self-respect. I would sit at the campfires night after night after night, having all these philosophical, ethical, moral debates with myself. What I learned from all these debates was I'm actually a good person inside. You know, my core belief system, my core spirit is about wanting equity for people. I don't like to see people disadvantaged. I don't like to see these injustices perpetrated on people. And that's the battle that I've taken on, with that double-edged sword that I could not throw away in that epiphany. I use that sword today as a tool to lobby governments, to lobby ministers, to lobby agencies and organisations to try to help people, because I have a deep understanding of what those vulnerabilities feel like. The shame, the stigma, the ostracization of a human being from a community.
Yeah.
That's why I tell my story.
I think I came to your story because I often find myself wanting to just leave it all behind and just go live in the forest. I often have this fantasy, particularly when I'm stuck in traffic. And I think it's just because I just innately believe that somehow the natural order is far more beautiful and far more meaningful than this sort of trivial nonsense that we've created for ourselves. But what I'm curious to know is, like, once you start doing it, once you're out there, you're living in that environment, is it better? Is it somehow innately more right? More? Is it a happier place to live?
I think that's a very complicated question, but at the same time, a very simple question.
I complicated it.
No, I think to do that by yourself is to flirt with your own demons and your own sanity. To do it with someone else or a group of people, like-minded people, I think would be highly beneficial to a person's spirit. At the same time, there needs to be a conduit in which you can expand your knowledge base. You need that outside information coming in and you need to be able to feed the information out as well. I think that's a really important thing for a human being to be able to do. To put it simply, to have a diverse array of conversations with different people. That's really important.
Okay, so thinking that you could just live with trees as friends and be amongst the butterflies and the birds, you're saying that's inadequate. You essentially need human contact.
I think a person could do that for, depending on the individual, weeks, months, maybe even a year, maybe even 2 years. But I think over time that would have detrimental effects on a person's psyche.
Did your time in the bush kind of enrichen your belief in spirituality or your sort of belief in a divine power?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's interpretations of divine power. The universe is a wonderful thing. It's a pretty amazing thing. Spirituality, it's helped me connect to all my ancestors, all the way back to my very first ancestors. There's a deep understanding. I used to wander around, the country thinking I have no purpose. What's my purpose in life? My purpose in life is very clear today, and that is to represent my ancestors, my forebears, and my offspring the best way I can. I am a mere link in a long chain of human beings. The way I carry myself reflects on them, on all of them. That's why what I do is important, because it reflects on my mother, my father, my grandfather, all my ancestors. It's also builds something that my children can look at and say, I am proud to be a part of that.
Well, look, I think there's just so much there that you've said, and I've been nodding vigorously, and I'm feeling inspired. So thanks so much for sharing your story with me.
Absolute pleasure, Julian. Yeah.
If you've enjoyed today's episode and you want to find out more, you can go to Dr. Gregory Smith's website. It is drgregorysmith.com. And you can also read his new book, which is called Better Than Happiness: The True Antidote to Discontent. So please check out the website, check out the book, donate to his charity if you have the means, and thanks for listening. What It Was Like is produced by Rachel Tuffrey. This episode was edited by Ellie Dickey, who also does our research. Our cover art is by Rich Akers. Our theme music was produced by Jimmy Saunders, and this whole thing has been a Super Real production.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. It's our Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with a bundle of cozy, soothing comfort. Now only $17.99 for our C2 mattress and base, plus free premium delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
AI agents are everywhere, automating tasks and making decisions at machine speed. But agents make mistakes. Just one rogue agent can do big damage before you even notice. Rubrik Agent Cloud is the only platform that helps you monitor agents, set guardrails, and rewind mistakes, so you can unleash agents, not risk. Accelerate your AI transformation at Rubrik.com. That's RUBRIK.com.